This next part of the National Congress meeting is to present the winners and the results of the co-chairs and directors election that occurred over the last couple of months. We have Kirstie Parker, who is the co-chair for the new National Congress. Can I please have a round of applause for Kirstie? Thank you, Gerry Moore is being put in place now as the Chamber Director for Chamber number 2. Venessa Curnow, who is representing Chamber number 1. And finally, Dr. Mark McMillan, who is the Chamber Director for number 3. Thank you very much to all of the members who participated in the voting, for the staff for making it possible, and for these fantastic nominees who've won the election. My great thanks, and all of our thanks, goes out to other people who put in their nominations to stand up and be counted as representatives of our national voice. What we're going to do now in this program is hand over to each of the directors-elect to give a 5 to 7 minute presentation, after which there will be a question and answer session. And if delegates could please make their ways to the microphone in order to have their voice recorded. This is live going out on a webcam, and our very first presenter will be the new co-chair direct, Ms. Kirstie Parker. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kerry, and I just want to say Yama, hello to all of my brothers and sisters. I have actually got some notes here, and I hope you won't mind if I read them, because there's a lot of things, a lot of people especially, that I want to thank, and I don't want to miss anyone out. So please bear with me, and I hope my computer holds its battery long enough to get through things. I acknowledge the traditional owners of this beautiful place, the Gimay, Wallabara, Yidinji and Yaganji peoples. I've loved this place since I lived here in 1991-92, trekking up and down the Kuranda Range, going past Mareeba to Atherton, where I was the editor of the Tableland newspaper for a few years. And I've always felt very welcome here, and I thank the traditional owners along that path for that. I also want to thank Errol and the elders and the community of Yarrabah for their hospitality and generosity in hosting us last night. I was really excited to hear about the plans that the community has. And Errol, Miss Parker will be delighted to take up your invitation to visit again. But please call me Kirstie, and I say that to all of you. I know many of you, and I know some of you very, very well, but for those of you who don't know me, I am a Yuwalari woman from northwestern New South Wales. My mob include the lambs from around Gadooga, and many now living over the Queensland border in and around St George, but we are far flung. I don't want to speak for too long because a lot of good people have said some wonderful things, but I want to place a few things on the record. I want all of you to know how proud and honoured I am to stand before you as the female co-chair-elect of this inspirational organisation. It's a responsibility that I take very seriously. I thank all of my fellow candidates in the co-chair elections. You inspire me, and I know that our people would have been ably represented by any of us. I thank all of those who've championed and represented the Congress to date, whether they've been members of the board, members of the Ethics Council, as delegates and as members. I wish to add the many tributes that have been paid to Jodie Bruin, a truly solid, classy and gracious woman who I greatly admire and respect, and who will be a very hard act to follow. And I know that Jodie's enthusiasm for the Congress remains as strong as ever, and her insight will continue to be pivotal to our organisation. I also... Thank you. I also welcome the opportunity to work with Les Meltzer as male co-chair. I have observed and engaged with Les over many years, and I've always been really impressed by his intelligent and thoughtful and grounded approach to all that he does. I offer my sincere congratulations to new directors Gerry Moore and Dr. Mark McMillan, along with Venessa Curnow, and also I look forward to working with you all, along with continuing directors Daphne, Rod and Tammy. I thank all of our elders, our trailblazers and our stalwarts for all that they've done to ensure that my generation and all the generations that come after us can lead better lives. I include my own family amongst them, people like my late granddad, Bob Lamb, who toiled in the paddock and the shearing shed from sunrise to sundown for little more than mutton, flour, sugar, tea and tobacco. I also include my late mum, Pam Parker, nee Lamb, who was the oldest of 18 kids, who started work as a domestic servant at the age of 11, and she went on to study at university and run 2 businesses. They stood up for me, and their efforts were not in vain. I feel all of their loving, guiding and encouraging hands on my shoulders today. And I also want to thank the Congress members who placed their trust in me and voted for me, as well as the many in this room who played a formative role in my evolution and development over the years. You are all giants in my eyes. I see Jim Morrison, who gave me my working start as a 16-year-old kid who'd been living in the Pilbara region to take up a newspaper cadetship in Perth. Thank you very much, Jim. I certainly wouldn't be where I am today without you. While they're already on their way to the airport, I suspect, Loja O'Donoghue employed me 10 years later to be the Director of Public Affairs for ATSIC, and people like Darryl Rigney, who was one of the directors at Tandanya in Adelaide during my time there, and so many others. During the past few days, I've received so many messages of congratulations, and people have said, "Sister, I'm proud of you, I believe in you, and I have faith in you." I say to each and every one of you, and all of our brothers and sisters around the country, while I don't presume to speak for all of you, I'm very proud of all of you. I believe in you, and I have faith in you, and I will fight for you. That's why I stood as co-chair. I'm going to try and steel myself now because I'm going to start looking like Alice Cooper very soon. But I do want to shout from the rooftop that these are my people. These smart, dignified, patient, courageous, strong, kind, welcoming, funny and passionate people are my people. And we have the vision, the capacity, the energy and the passion to determine our own future. To non-Indigenous Australia, if you are prepared to honour the truth and respect our place, we'll be pleased to have you walk alongside us. As Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, we can and should be very proud of what we've achieved. Our resilience, our sense of identity and our traditional core values around the importance of connection to and responsibility for country, central place of families, culture and inclusion. I'm under no illusions about the scale and significance of the challenges facing our peoples and communities. It would be virtually impossible to count the number of reports, surveys, studies and inquiries that have been chronicled on our disadvantage. But I also believe that there is nothing so broken about us that it can't be fixed or made demonstrably better by working together. In order to do that, we must have the confidence, the focus and the patience to rise above the noise and the distractions, the egos and the personal agendas. For our people, I want vibrant communities where families are safe and secure, where we celebrate success and diversity in every sphere of life, where we learn from our mistakes and where we believe in each other. We don't all have to think the same. We certainly don't think the same. We need to open our minds and have the guts to stay in the room and listen, even if people express views and opinions that are different to ours. We need to play the issue, not the man or the woman. We need to persuade, we need to be cheeky, we need to rev, but don't disrespect, harangue or insult. Our mob are smart enough to make up our own minds if we're given information, and we have enough people putting us down without us joining in. We need to rise above cutting other mob down, diminishing them to build ourselves up, because we are not diminished in our identity. We are not rendered unblack by success and excellence. Over the next 4 weeks, I will bid farewell to some very dear friends. Some of you may know I've worked at the Curnow for the past 7 years, and I do want to place on the public record my sincere thanks and gratitude to the Board of Directors of the Curnow and the Bundjalung community that has been home to myself and my partner Carol for the past 7 years. And I also want to pay tribute to the long-time chairman of the Curnow, Russell Capeen, as well as all of my colleagues both in Lismore and all around the country. What a wonderful ride it has been. But I feel that I'm going to continue to be exposed to the magnificent stories of our communities in my new role, so I feel very lucky. Naturally, it's going to take a little while to settle into my new role, and while I'll hit the ground running, I don't intend to go in with all guns blazing. I want to listen to people, I want to hear what's important to people, and I make these promises to you. I will work hard, I will be plain speaking, I will value your expertise, skills and knowledge. I want all Congress members to feel that they are a genuine part of the organisation and can make a difference to it. I will listen to and respect the many different views in our communities. I will be accessible, and I will constantly question myself in all that I do. How will this help our people? Which brings me to the Congress. I believe the Congress has begun to prove itself and is leading the way, especially in areas such as gender equity. But it's still a very fledgling organisation which will necessarily undergo further evolution as we get it right. None of us should feel defensive about that process. It is valid and it is necessary. I want all of us to work together to grow the membership, both in terms of numbers and dynamism. We will rise and fall on this alone. I see no reason why we shouldn't have 100,000 members plus in our communities. I think there's something like 300,000 of our people who are aged over the age of 18. That's a massive support base, and it's potentially incredibly influential. Along the way, I hope that we can find ways to embed the incredible depth and breadth of knowledge and expertise of all of our members within the Congress structure. And of course, we have to build our future viability and sustainability. There are a range of options to us. We currently have funding from government sources, but there are also philanthropic corporate sources, our own members, and also, I believe, good non-Indigenous Australians who will want to contribute to our future. And I just want to congratulate everyone at the Congress for getting through that status. I'm not sure if it's officially known as charitable status or DGR status, but I think that will prove crucial to the future of the Congress. I want to thank the Congress staff, many of whom I know very well, and I look forward to working with Lyndon and his incredible team. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people need a strong and inclusive and persuasive national voice. I believe that with support from all of us, no matter who we are or where we live, with the right leadership, robust discussion and the will to act, the Congress can be that voice. I'd just like to finish by thanking again my friends, my family, my beautiful partner of 10 years, Carol, who's with me today, my elders and my ancestors. I could do none of this without you, and I won't let you down. Thank you.
I'm assuming it's me next, young Kerry Arabina, seeing that I'm next in line. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge country, acknowledge all of our elders, past and present, all of the elders in this room, and also acknowledge the non-Aboriginal people who work alongside of each and every one of us that help make the machinery of not only Congress, but all organisations that we employ non-Aboriginal, non-Indigenous people in. I guess in the spirit of reconciliation, we can't get on without them and they can't get on without us. So I just acknowledge everyone. Well, my name's Gerry Moore. I'm from a little community called Wreck Bay down in the ACT. Most people wouldn't know this, but Canberra has to have a seaport. Canberra, of course, being our capital, and the ACT where I come from, which is Wreck Bay or the Jervis Bay Territory, is actually the seaport for Canberra. And that's how you get a slice of the ACT down on the coast. So my community, I've born and bred on the Mish, couldn't wait to get off it, and I'll never go back there until I die, but it's a great heritage to have that you come from a place. And I was talking to my good friend Nolene and Margaret and my brother there, Phil, in the car last night, and talking about the fact that where I grew up, the gates of the Mish were still there that locked us on 7 o'clock each night and opened again 7 o'clock the next morning. Now, when you consider that I'm a young lad of only 58 years of age, that's not too long ago. So I guess the story that tells me and should tell us is that we've come a long, long way. And it's because of the incredible efforts of people, organisations, individuals, like yourselves in this room, that we've been able to achieve that. So, enough about me. I am married. I've got 3 grown-up children and 5 grandkids, and they're all deadly. And, you know, I too want to thank my family for the support that I've got to get here. I ran on a simple sort of process of how am I going to get the mob to vote for me in the first place, because I ran for co-chair. I wasn't successful, but I didn't miss out by too much. And that gave me the power and the strength to say, well, I'd like to go for the chamber delegate. And I don't think Dennis is here, but I wanted to thank him specifically because Dennis selflessly decided that, you know, he'd worked in the chamber for a while, and he said, "No, I want to hand it over to someone else." And he stepped back. And that left my brother Graham there and I as just 2 delegates who run. And in looking at the results, it was very close. So what that tells me is that I've got a lot of work to do to make sure that I live up to my end of the bargain in representing you guys and all of our mob out there, all of the individuals, all of our community and so forth. So what did I want to achieve? Well, you know, one of the things I want to achieve is to raise the profile of the Congress, obviously. You know, we've had a few disappointing sort of, I guess, episodes in the last little while that show that we need to get a higher voter turnout, and I think there's lots of strategic things that we could do as a collective to be able to address that. Raising the numbers, we talked about that in our chamber, and I think that's a very, very important area for Congress to be looking at. But it's not just raising the numbers, because one of our delegates said anyone can be a member of a club or so forth, but what are you going to do to help them? What are you going to do to get buy-in? What are you going to do to show that we're relevant to everybody that we get to come and join this organisation that we're all a part of? So getting the numbers is one thing, engaging is another, and making sure that people feel that they want to be a part of this organisation. So when I was actually campaigning, I campaigned right up until the last hour, and I had many people say to me, "Congress, who are you? You know, yeah, I think we're a member. No, the CEO isn't here at the moment. They're gone off on leave. But tell me, what have you done for us anyway?" And, you know, I said to them, that's a really, really important question for you to ask, because what we do for our mob is important for our existence. And it gave me a really strong message that we haven't quite done enough yet. You know, we've done good, but we've got to raise the bar a bit more. So we've got to re-engage all of those mob who are out there, who are a part of the Congress, but haven't participated or aren't participating. And then we've got to re-engage or engage with the mob who are out there that we need to come to the fold to strengthen this organisation. So there's a lot of work to do. And that's why being a part of a strong board is really important, because none of us, Kirstie, brother there, sister, you know, none of us can do anything by ourselves. We've all got to work as an engine room. And we can only do that if we're being fed fuel, and you guys are the fuel. And where do you get that fuel, that raw material from? Community. So, you know, we're all connected. What strength will I bring to the board? I like to think I bring really good communication skills. I like to think that I'm a really good listener with a person or from a person who practices good governance. I've worked at high levels before and, you know, I've enjoyed it. It'll be good to go back there again, but I can only do that with the help and support of people like yourselves. The last thing I'll say is that we've got a really good mob who work in the staff of the organisation, and I want to pay credit and tribute to Lyndon and his entire team, because we wouldn't be nowhere if we didn't have a good team behind us, and I'm really looking forward to working with yourself, Aaron, with Lyndon and all of the staff in the Congress, with a really strong board, and I think we can do a good job. My last point is to say, Jodie, you're fantastic, and I've known you for a while. You're infectious. You spread a lot of good things to the mob around you, and I would just say thank you to you in moving on and for what you've done for not just all our mob, but for me personally. You're deadly, sis, okay? Les and the others, I'll get a chance to say thanks to them later on. And I just thank you once again for the opportunity to be able to be a part of a deadly outfit, and I know that we as a collective can all make a difference. But that's the key word, a collective. We can only do it together. Black, white, young, old, experienced, learners, you know, we're all in that mix together, and I hope we all run a good race, because I know we can. Thanks for the opportunity.
Good afternoon. First, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of where we're meeting today. I'm Venessa, Curnow. I'm Ithkadal Samu. My family's from up in the Torres Strait Islands, Saibai Islands. I'd also like to acknowledge my family, my partner, my 3 beautiful daughters, and my mother and father. And I know I'm going to get emotional now, but without them, I can't do the work that I do. And so that's really important to me. It just makes me a bit teary. But today's a really special day for me culturally as well. So I had really, really good news this morning. And so I feel even more emotional about acknowledging my family, and because it's on webcast. I'm always thinking of you when I'm doing my work, because they know that Mum has to go and get kaiko money. Oh, food money. So I'm pleased and honoured to be elected for a 2-year term, my second term as a female director in Chamber 1. Over my work experience of 19 years working nationally and throughout the state of Queensland, I've done a lot in sector development. And sector development's what supports service delivery, so look at workforce development, research training, career pathways and those sorts of things. So, and I've even had a more, I've been very, very blessed to have experience working particularly in long-term care and aged care and with people with dementia, which means that I've gotten a lot of other experience about our culture as well, in looking after our old people who've got strong connections to country and who've been part of stolen generations. So I've got to hear their stories firsthand, and some of that stuff's not written in books. So I've got, I've listened and read up about Western management systems and, done the hard yards in clinical nursing's my background. But I also have worked and learnt and been grown up by old people as well, and I think that's really special. So I'm glad to be able to share that with you all here, but also to be able to bring that to making Congress stronger. Over my previous term, I chaired the Finance Committee within Congress, and which we had two unqualified audits, and we've been extremely efficient in our spending, given we've got a large expenditure but yet still delivered some major outcomes in a short amount of time, given our limited resources. So I think that's something that all of Congress Secretariat and directors should be proud of, and I'm really keen to continue that work and to build on it now that we've got our DGR status, to take the charge and the directive that's been given by yourselves as delegates and the fuller membership to progress Congress to be financially sustainable and financially independent of government. And of course, I want to congratulate my fellow directors-elect and co-chairs-elect as well. And of course, the standing directors and delegates and delegates-elect as well. And I really look forward to working with you all over the next 4 years to continue to grow Congress and secure our futures for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, and really to make sure that our expertise and innovation that we already have is recognised, and that Congress, which brings together our national resources and capacities, can actually make some strategic influence and directions. Thank you.
Yiridu Murung, I'd like to pay my respects to the traditional owners. Well, my name is Mark McMillan. I'm a Wiradjuri man from Trangie. I'd like to give a big shout out to Auntie Margaret Saunders, who also is from Trangie and knows and grew up with my family. It's what a big honour it is to be here. First and foremost, let me say what a humbling experience it is today to be elected by some amazing people in Chamber 3. And first and foremost here, I'd like to pay my respects to Uncle Brian. Is he still here? For the work that he's done on the inaugural board. You know, without the work of those soldiers and heroes like Uncle Brian, my journey would be that much more difficult. And I think my family, I got into trouble from the NAIDOC board for not mentioning my mother. So I acknowledge my mum, Robin McMillan, because if I don't, she's going to get very, very grumpy again. So what is this about, and what do I think I can do, and what did I promise the delegates, because it's the delegates who put faith in me. And that is first and foremost to represent them at the board level, to understand that we operate in the structure, what that structure is, and prosecute that structure. Delegates in Chamber 3, who I am representing on the board, their voice is important. It's vital, it's foundational. We were selected, we were appointed for a reason. My commitment is to bring that understanding and prosecute that. You will be represented, you will be communicated with, and that is my foundation. My background obviously is a lawyer, and I have a particular passion as a lawyer for international human rights law, but also constitutional law, constitutionalism for our mobs. Indigenous nation building. What do our nations mean? What do they need? And start to have that conversation and press that conversation into what the board does, how it actually operates, and how it actually thinks. I mean, obviously, I make no bones that I think there must be a chamber for nations in the framework of Congress, but that's something that all who are participating in Congress get to have a determination over. What else do I think I want to do is actually understand that what we can do is limited. But what we've got to do well, what we can do in a limited way, we've got to do extraordinarily well. And that comes from, obviously, conversations, but it's also understanding the framework that we're operating in. Unfortunately, whether we like it or not, it's a constitution. And we've got to know what it is. We've got to live within that. We might be able to push the boundaries. But from my background, I went around for 20 years teaching corporate boards how to act as good corporate citizens, both culturally, legally and morally. And I think that's something that I want to bring onto the board. It's already there. I just actually get to enhance it in a different way. First and foremost, one of the most important things for me on this is to harness the amazing abilities that already exist in Congress. I know we talk about let's expand the membership, which is absolutely important, but how do we actually harness what we've got, and how do we give that a voice? Chamber 3, that will be what I can do. I will end there because we've got to get on, but I wanted to congratulate Kirstie and Gerry and Venessa, and to everybody. It is a humbling experience. I'm not a youth, don't play that game, but I've got a lot of learning to do, and I look forward to doing it with you. Thanks.
There we have it, everybody. We've just heard from our directors-elect. I'm thinking that the baton has appropriately passed from one generation of directors to another, and that those who've worked hard to make this National Congress and all of our civil rights movements valid and worthy, I think that they can really rest easy in hearing from the maiden speech. Thank you very much for that, Kirstie, as well as the other directors on what they campaigned for and what they're going to make their measure and mark in the National Congress journey forward. They will be joining now Les Malzer, Tammy Solinek, Rod Little and Daphne Yarram to make up the board from the National Congress of Australia's First Peoples from August of this year. Can we please again welcome the new directors, but also thank the current board members for their contributions.